5 years ago, the Heart and Stroke Foundation released 2 reports on the systemic inequities that harm women's heart and brain health. Now, on this first day of February, which is Heart Month, they've also released a new report that's called Systemic Failure. Healthcare inequities continue to leave women's heart and brain health behind. For more on those inequities and why they're still happening, we are joined by one of the Heart and Stroke Foundation's researchers, Dr. Pad McCall. Welcome to your morning.
Thank you for having me.
It is a strong title, System Failure. Tell us how and where the system is failing women.
Well, Anne-Marie, we know that there are differences in how women present, how they're treated, and what outcomes they have compared to men with heart disease. And I think, heart and stroke and research has supported research in this area. And we have been educating patients as well as providers, as well as policymakers about the gaps in care and gaps in outcomes. However, what this report shows is that there's more work to be done. What information we don't have is how the roles that women play, for example, the gender roles in terms of whether they're the primary breadwinners or they're the primary care providers in the house, whether there are segments of society, such as those living in poorer communities or in rural communities where there are bigger gaps. And that information, those data are harder to find, but through linking researchers like myself with the patients who have the lived experience, Heart and Stroke can kind of continue to support that kind of research so that we have these data in Canada.
Well, let's talk about some of that data. The report mentions that 75% of people in this country think that we should be more concerned about women's heart and brain health. So people seem to know that the inequities exist, but what's behind this lag in women-focused health research and care?
It has remained, I think it's getting better over time because of the research we have done showing that there are these gaps. And as we track whether those differences in males versus females is attenuating over time is the work that has to be done. And as I mentioned, are there pockets of patients whom we are still missing, who are falling through the cracks? That's information that is still hard to come by, but that's where a lot of the research is going to find out additional information in these areas. And as time progresses, we hope that those gaps can be addressed. And we're working with the healthcare system to first identify those gaps and then, suggest how those gaps can be filled.
One of the findings in this report says that women are forced to navigate a healthcare system that is designed for men. If you're a woman and you didn't know that there was a different treatment, or how would it present itself? And your advice to women who might be experiencing this as a frustration, because they might not be able to identify there's a difference because it's the only way they've ever been treated.
Yeah, so we find that, what we are trying to tell women is that their symptoms can be very different from those of men, and they need to be aware of that. I think we find that women tend to say, I'll fix breakfast and then go find, seek care. And we know, especially with heart disease and stroke, that time is a huge factor in how, the interventions that can be done and what their outcomes are. So we want women to be aware of the kinds of symptoms that may be indicative of heart disease and stroke, and then get to the hospital, call EMS, seek care. And then we are working with, of course, the providers and the policymakers to say, look, this is, the providers need to be aware that women are, with these different symptoms, but that they need to be identified early and that the treatments, should be given without a loss of time.
Now, you've identified that we still have a long way to go. Thanks for coming on today, Dr. Call.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.